Follow San Diego's Talk Radio 760 now for Love Real Estate Radio. Hosted by Sandra Love, it's 1 hour of up-to-date real estate info for home buyers. Get the facts for a better life and love real estate on 760 KFMB.
Welcome back. You're listening to Love Real Estate. I'm your host, Sandra Love. Co-hosting with me today, Deja Correa with San Diego Funding, my VA guru extraordinaire.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Doing her Elvis impersonation there. Now, remember, if you have missed any part of the show, you can always go to my webpage, loverealestateradio.com. Listen to the podcast there. And I also want to tell you guys, listeners out there, you can also sign up for our first-time homebuyer seminar directly on the website. What's that website? It's loverealestateradio.com. It will be May 22nd, 6 p.m., directly across from Mission Valley. I want to see all of my listeners there. But Deja, we have another guest with us today.
Yay!
Another attorney. Let's go ahead and talk to Drew Lyman. He's going to be talking to us about bankruptcy and short sales. So let me tell you guys a little bit about him. Drew began his legal career, I should say, in 2006 as a deputy city attorney for the city of San Diego, where he acted as the lead prosecutor in multiple jury and bench trials. Oh, my goodness. Okay, we have to be on his good side.
All right.
Okay. In 2007, Drew embarked in a private civil practice where he has independently represented hundreds of businesses and individuals with various concerns, mainly related to bankruptcy. Drew's bankruptcy experience includes representing creditors, debtors, individuals, you name it. He is a whiz at this. I love working with him. We've done actually quite a few loans and short sales and bankruptcies together. But now, thank you so much for coming, Drew. I know you rushed in here, and I appreciate it so much.
Thank you, Sandra. It's great to be here. I'm happy to be here. You and I have worked together on a number of different issues that clients face. And one of the reasons that I appreciate working with you is your understanding of the timing of when things might take place and being willing to be open to hearing the advice of an attorney. Many people find themselves in difficult situations, and they need to be in the presence of different disciplines and people who they can trust and that are going to give them the right advice, not self-interested advice, but advice that helps the client. And frankly, I talk to a lot of clients who they really don't have, and maybe many people don't, but an objective, they think that they have an objective view of their financial situation, and they really don't. But they need to put their trust in a professional, someone who can give them sound advice and really let them know what they need to do. One of the situations that I commonly encounter is a person who has a first mortgage and a second mortgage that has recourse, meaning that the bank can sue the person after a foreclosure, or even after a short sale, the person remains liable for that debt. We had one client that you and I both helped out together, a lady named Jane, who did have a $200,000 second recourse loan on her home, and her prior realtor, not you, Sandra, was advising her to do an immediate short sale. The problem was that the bank wanted the client to sign a $200,000 promissory note after that short sale, and had she moved from her house after selling the property and no longer held title to the home, she would not have been able to use certain deductions on the means test, which is an eligibility test for qualifying for Chapter 7 bankruptcy in this situation, to help her eliminate that debt.
Let me interrupt you there. It's so important that my listeners understand that more often than not, you guys, you've heard me say this before, I'm the Google queen of the office. I love to Google everything. And so, more often than not, we find ourselves, bankruptcy, let me Google. Okay, now I'm a bankruptcy attorney. Oh, Chapter 7, it's this. Now you Google it. And it's, detrimental. It just makes me laugh sometimes because I think, Deja, of that commercial with, the bonjour.
Yeah. We love that commercial.
I know, but see, here she is so naive Googling, and she thinks that she's getting this French model, and of course it's not.
And the more information out there, the more confusing it can be sometimes.
Absolutely.
Because you've got a lot of, and what a lot of us do is very, very specific for each individual's financial picture. So you can't Google that. How long after a short sale till I can buy again? Oh, I can buy again in 2-3 years. Well, maybe not if I've got I have a big lien against myself, a judgment against myself for a loan I'm obligated to.
I agree, Deja. People may have information that is correct, but not applicable to their situation. Right. And in this particular matter, we were able to help Jane discharge the $200,000 in debt. Had she done the short sale prior to filing the bankruptcy, she would not have qualified for Chapter 7 and would have been liable for $200,000 in debt and no real ability to get rid of it.
It's so important, right now that you said Chapter 7, I hear also Chapter 11. So could you explain the difference to our listeners between 7 and 11?
Okay, well, most bankruptcies are either Chapter 7s for consumers or Chapter 13s, which are only available for individuals. Chapter 11 is another chapter of the bankruptcy code. It is typically far more expensive, and 75% of Chapter 11s fail, whether they're filed by individuals or companies, just because of the expense of them. But commonly what we hear about are, and what are filed, are Chapter 7 bankruptcies, which is known as a liquidation proceeding. It doesn't mean that everything is liquidated. That's one of the myths, I think, about bankruptcy. People think that they're necessarily going to lose their home or everything that they own by filing a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, and that's not the case. Chapter 13 is a reorganization of debt, where creditors are repaid based on the debtor's disposable income over a 3 to 5 year period of time. It's quite a commitment.
It is, because you're thinking, okay, now I have to pay, I'm in a payment plan, right, on a 13, and so you're having to pay back for 5 to how many years?
A minimum of 3 and a maximum of 5 years. And it's an individual's total disposable income that they're paying back in a Chapter 13 plan. It's right for many people. Others, it's not necessarily the most logical thing to do.
And what about for those borrowers who completely intended on doing this, Chapter 13, and something happens halfway through their payment plan, 1 year into it, 2 years into it? Are they able to do anything else, or are they obligated? What happens?
Well, a debtor in a Chapter 13 plan does have a right to convert to a Chapter 7, and they are also able to dismiss the Chapter 13 as well. But they will be liable for the debt that was not paid off in the Chapter 13 case. The other thing, too, though, getting back to credit restoration and how to move forward, is a person in a Chapter 13 does not get a discharge. That's the legal word for how their debt is forgiven for a 3 to 5 year period of time after they successfully complete the plan. Whereas in a Chapter 7, the discharge is typically about 90 days after the case is filed. So I often encounter clients who are very concerned about their credit and what bankruptcy is going to do to their credit.
Right.
And I think it's an important concern, and none of these things are to be taken lightly. But what I tell people is, what are you going to do about your debt 5 years from now? Because it's not going away.
Right.
And with a bankruptcy discharge, especially in a Chapter 7, you're able to move on with your life a lot faster.
And I think we need to realize is that bankruptcy sometimes is it's a tool, not necessarily something that you're in a dinner party and you're like, oh, by the way, I just filed for bankruptcy. But because it's something, very, there's like a shame associated with it. But you have to look at it as a fresh start. Think of people who have actually used it as a tool. Donald Trump comes to mind. We all know that he used it. And Doug is over here kind of looking at me, kind of wanting to shake his head, kind of saying,
Well, I like Drew very much. I respect him very highly. But I'll just say that our law firm does no bankruptcy whatsoever. That's why I pay strict attention to what he has to say. We deal with hotsy-totsy people that are making a lot of money in real estate, and how you hold title to it is extremely important. We were talking earlier about your primary home, but then we go to investment properties,
Right.
and investment properties need not be in the living trust, but they should be in a California limited partnership where you get asset protection and income tax advantages. I've never met the person I can't substantially lower their taxes. I usually say to them, I'm happy to split with you 50-50. I'll do everything for free. I'll split with you 50-50 what I save you in tax. But I'd like to ask Drew a question.
Sure.
If I had an apartment building, 100 units, and everything in my personal life is falling apart and people are suing me, if I had a limited partnership and that's doing well, is bankruptcy the right thing, or are they protected by having their real estate in a separate entity, limited liability company or limited partnership or something along those lines?
Often it's very wise to put an investment property into a limited liability company, and they are eligible as separate entities to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. The key issue, though, in what you're raising, Doug, is whether the borrower is personally liable for that debt and who it is filing the bankruptcy. Is it the LLC or is it the individual?
What's interesting, most of my clients know that I am a tax designer, and I know we're going to have a real interior
designer
in
coming
a
up,
moment.
yes.
But I do the design of how to structure when people are either going into trouble so they have asset protection, and how to structure it so they'll have lower income taxes. And there's so many code sections. I can give you some. Section 162, 83, 1031. There are all these kinds of exchanges
lots of information.
that can help people.
But if you're facing bankruptcy, listener out there, I really want you to connect with Drew. He really does care. I want you to pick up the phone and call me right now. Call me at 888-571-9595. 888-571-9595. Drew, can you give them a free consultation for mentioning Love Real Estate Radio if they call and they say, I need to talk to Drew, Sandra?
Absolutely.
There you go. All you have to do is pick up the phone. I'll give you that number again, 888-571-9595, 888-571-9595. I want you guys to connect with Drew. He's so knowledgeable in bankruptcy. He's going to be here in studio. We have more questions for him, but I don't want you guys also to miss out on our first-time homebuyer seminar. Remember, it's May 22nd at 6 o'clock. You can go directly to the website, loverealestateradio.com, or give us a call. Coming up in our next segment, we're going to be talking to an interior designer, Nikki Clue.
Love Real Estate on 760 KFNB.